In 2020, the world stopped. COVID-19 started spreading at an unprecedented rate, so we were all sent home. Offices were closed and companies started finding ways to continue running remotely. Now, we are being asked to go back to the office, but new ways of working have emerged. The 9-to-5 work life is not that standard anymore.
Before the pandemic, 120,000 people would commute through the Canary Wharf station to get to work every day. After the COVID-19 restrictions eased, just under 20,000 passed through this station. A 4-day work week, digital nomads, remote work, freelancing, these are things people are considering more and more after working from home for 2 years. Have these replaced the 9-to-5 as the future of work? Let's find out.
In the world's biggest pilot of its kind, 70 UK companies, from breweries to charities, are trialling a 4-day work week starting this month. Happy is one of the companies taking part. Based in central London, they offer leadership training and workplace consultancy, and they have high hopes for the trial.
So the 4-day week trial, we're doing it with 70 other organisations, and it's going to be a 6-month trial. We started a pilot 4 years ago, actually, we did it just for 1 month. And it was quite interesting because the majority of the staff said they actually got more done. But there were a few people who didn't, who found it quite stressful. But we did quite a bit of furlough during the pandemic, and some of them were taking furlough 1 day a week and discovered they'd got as much done. So there's been a bit of a change over the pandemic, and so we thought now's the right time to do it. I started working a 4-day week from September, and I thought, yeah, I want everyone to do this. I decided it was time to go for it. We discussed it at the staff meeting, and the staff voted for a 4-day week, 16-1, in a survey that we did. I think that the future of work is about getting away from command and control, getting away from micromanagement, getting away from hierarchy, because people won't accept those anymore. One of the reasons we're involved in the 4-day week is because we fundamentally believe that people work best when they feel good about themselves. And so my hopes are that we will continue to be able to work a 4-day week, that we will have better well-being because people will take that day off, people will be happier, and therefore they'll be, in my view, more productive. And also it'd be a great bone for recruitment. Imagine if you go to one of our competitors on a 5-day week and come to us on a 4-day week, well, I think you'd prefer to come to Happy, wouldn't you?
The trial is being supported by the 4-Day Workweek campaign, an advocacy group based in London. They have been campaigning for a shorter workweek across the UK for years now. Although the idea was first put forward in the Labour Party's 2017 manifesto, it is the COVID-19 pandemic that has been the catalyst for this change. I spoke to Joe Ryle, the director of the campaign.
The pandemic has shown us when we want the world of work to change very quickly, it can do, and the move towards remote work and the furlough scheme, policies that we thought were unimaginable before the pandemic almost happened overnight, and I think that's opened people's eyes to the fact that the world of work can change very quickly, and workers are desperate for a better work-life balance after the pandemic. We know that from all the polling, from the amount of interest there is in a 4-day week, and so we think the 4-day week is good for workers, good for the economy, good for the environment, and it's an idea whose time has come. So what we've seen where the 4-day week has been trialled across the world is that it's a win-win for both worker and businesses, and that's because productivity goes up on the one side, but also the well-being of workers does too, and that happens time and time again. Whenever this is trialled, that seems to be the result. There's also other benefits to companies in terms of reduced sick days, the ability to retain staff, attract new talent to the organisation, and just create a good work culture as well.
Many countries have already implemented the 4-day work week. In New Zealand, companies have seen an increase in productivity by 1/5 and almost a 50% improvement in employees' work-life balance. The question is, will the UK follow this trend?
We've seen successful trials already across the world, so in Iceland, Japan, in Belgium, there's been lots of companies adopting this in the USA and other major global companies. But we wanted to do a trial in the UK to show it can be done. There's a wide range of businesses taking part, from care sector, to hospitality, retail, and we want to show this is possible across the economy. We should be working towards a 32-hour working week. No one should be working more than that.
Flexible work has impressed many, but some are concerned about the consequences on our daily lives.
It definitely does impact. If you're literally walking across the landing in your house to get to your office, it's obviously not the same impact as having to go and get on public transport and walk past a coffee shop and grab your coffee. So you really aren't getting that access to the outside world that you perhaps once had.
This means that small businesses, like local coffee shops, whose livelihood depends on the patronage of office goers, have suffered. Another popular working choice has replaced going to the office. Some employees and freelancers have been working from their laptops while traveling the world.
Hello from Morocco. I've been here about 3 weeks so far, got another 3 or 4 to go. I actually don't have any plans of where I'm going next. I'm thinking Eastern Europe, but I genuinely don't know. But I'm just walking along on my lunch break right now. This is what I've got, just the beach right here. And that's why I love this lifestyle so much. Don't get to do this in London, and I absolutely love it.
These people are called digital nomads. They work online in different locations without one place to call home.
I used to work in tourism in New Zealand. During the pandemic, I was made redundant because New Zealand closed their borders. So I actually went back to the UK and I moved back in with my parents for a little bit. I thought I was kind of ready to stop travelling and look for a job based in London where I was, but I just didn't enjoy it. So from that point onwards, that's when I started looking at remote jobs. It took a while. About June, July 2021 is when I first got my job. I basically was working online and still based myself in London for a month or two. I said to my boss, look, can I work abroad or can I move around? She said, yeah, absolutely. And then I left to be a digital nomad in August 2021.
Daniel Seymour has been living this lifestyle since June 2021 and has already worked from 11 countries, from Barbados to Bahrain, as a full-time content manager.
There's plenty of pros. There's the fact that you get to be in beautiful places, often a cheaper cost of living than London. There's a beach just over there, which is amazing for me. I love meeting new people and the new cultures and things like that. I'm at the age where all my friends are getting married, buying houses, having kids, but it's not for me. I like the flexibility, being spontaneous, going somewhere new, exploring new things, and that's just what I like, really.
The digital nomad lifestyle has become a trend. It shot up to over 5 million at the beginning of 2020, and as of April this year, there were already 35 million digital nomads worldwide. At this rate, there may be more than 1 billion people adopting this nomadic lifestyle as early as 2035.
I think it's a really interesting topic and it can be so one-sided, and people just think about this as how the positives of it, and actually they forget about the negatives. And so many people, until you actually ask them about the negatives, they forget, particularly people coming from, as I say, university or their first job, the amount of stuff people learn just literally in passing. The number of people and individuals that I'm speaking to on a regular basis that talk about how lonely they are, and they didn't realise that it was going to have this kind of impact. Levels of anxiety. I actually had an individual interview recently, and he said to me that was the first people he had spoken to out with his immediate family in person for such a long time, and I think it's definitely had an impact on people.
There are other challenges to living as a digital nomad. For one, it often takes weeks, maybe even months to plan a holiday, and digital nomads are tasked with the logistics of travel, from visas to finding a place to live, ever so often. Chris Serra started his own company, Remote Base, to make the transition to the digital nomad lifestyle smoother. His own journey inspired his business that allows others like him to access deals on accommodation. Demand for remote base rocketed after COVID-19 restrictions eased.
I run a newsletter, which is really, the purpose of it really is to help other digital nomads, or people who are aspiring digital nomads. I'd been traveling around for about a year at that point. I realized that I could find some pretty good deals. They reached a point where I realized that I couldn't possibly stay in all of these places. There were too many places that were too good for me to stay in all at the same time. But surely if I thought these were really good deals and really good places to stay, then other people would be interested in seeing them, and other people would be able to go and stay in them and enjoy. There was a period kind of right in the pandemic. I paused everything. There was something that really, it was a bit unsettling to me personally to be kind of promoting travel or like a travel lifestyle in the midst of all of that. And then as the world kind of started to emerge and some countries started to open up and different borders were kind of slowly becoming open, I picked things back up again. And when I did that, like, there was an uptick in traffic to the website, there was an uptick in people who signed up. Anecdotally, there was a lot of increase in people who wanted to talk to me that I know from like my personal network, who were like, hey, like you've been doing this remote thing for a long time, right? Like how does it work?
Chris and his girlfriend Sam have been digital nomads themselves since 2018.
I always really liked traveling, so there was always like a desire there to want to travel more and to want to do more. My girlfriend Sam, she also loves to travel. Part of the reason that we came together was because we love to travel. We couldn't really travel as much as we wanted to because we had to be here for work. We got what we wished for and more. Sam actually got offered a position which was like, the travel was mandated. Sam got sent around the world with this job, and I just kind of tagged along for the ride and was working online.
I conducted a survey among 100 freelancers, and about half of them said that money was their motivation to go freelance. However, nearly 1/3 of the respondents said they prioritize flexibility over increased earnings. But is a flexible working lifestyle for everybody?
I think that it will be such a factor that people will continue to move towards a 4-day week, and maybe in 5 years or 10 years it will be the norm.
You have to want to do it. It's not all sitting on a beach sipping cocktails. There is a lot of work involved as well. There is a lot of planning. But I do love it, and if somebody is thinking about it, I would definitely recommend at least try it. If you work from home anyway, it's the same really. It's just what you do outside of work, it would be different.
Things like the discipline or the kind of freedom that comes with being in control, completely in control of your day, right? Like you have to manage what your day looks like. That's not really for everyone. Maybe the transient digital nomad lifestyle isn't really for you, but for me it works. I'm constantly making the choice to pursue it because for me it works.
You would keep them in a drawer or a cupboard. These like sort of techie programmers and developers that couldn't speak to people, they just program. I've got the fear that you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be like that. They just won't have that ability to communicate in person, and they're really going to struggle when it comes to interviews or managing people. They just don't really understand the social cues. So it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts on the longer term, but we won't know.
Our perspective on all aspects of life has changed in only 2 years. So will we continue trying out new things or go back to the work environment we are all familiar with? Trends show that people will not be going back to the office exclusively. It is more likely that hybrid work will prevail. But we will have to wait and see.